Hi, I'm Debra Meiburg, and I'm with Michael Downer of Murdoch Hills, which is in Adelaide Hills. You've got double-barreled hills going there.
A lot going on there.
And well, you do have a lot going on, because I understand you're playing with a variety to make dry red wines that most people don't do too much with, which is pinot meunier.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's quite exciting to be playing with pinot meunier. It's I guess a forgotten grape variety, and it's a lesser grape variety used in champagne. And when made into a dry red, I think it gives some really interesting characters. It's often quite savoury. You see a lot of rhubarb and red fruits, but there's lusciousness and texture to the wine that makes it a really, I guess, the wine styles I'm trying to make have drinkability. So I'm having quite a hands-off approach with the wine. So with the characters of that varietal and the techniques, it makes for a really easy drinkable style.
It's interesting because first of all, I think you'll have a lot of number of MW students tracking you down to try a bottle, because in our training at least, we're always asked to identify the elements of champagne, which typically involves some meunier in much of it anyway, and we all sort of have these lines that it adds the fruitiness and the softness, but is that really true?
Well, I think it can be different when making it into a dry red. I think what you said is correct with champagne, but with a dry red, it's so dependent on the vineyard and the site and where it's grown in, as most grape varieties are. But generally speaking, compared to Pinot Noir, you'll see a little bit more lusciousness of fruit, a little bit more savoury structural elements of the wine, compared to Pinot from the same block and the same vineyard, which I also produce, is a lot more linear and finer in style, I guess.
Is the thickness of the skin of the Pinot Meunier, is it a little thicker than the Pinot?
Yeah, it is a little bit thicker, and often the bunches and berry sizes are larger, so it ripens usually about 2 weeks earlier than the Pinot Noir.
And how about eatability? Have you had a chance to build a library yet?
Well, I first started producing Pinot Meunier back in 2013. I only got about 4 bottles left, so I haven't opened too many. But I used to work for a winery called Best in Great Western in Victoria, and I've had Pinot Meunier planted since the 1860s or something, and I tasted some when I worked there from the 80s, so at the time of 25-year-old wines, and they held up remarkably well. Not to say that the wines that I'm making, as I said, I talked about drinkability before, so they're a little bit softer and not as heavily extracted. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how they look in years to come.
And what else are you producing from the property?
So from my family's vineyard, we produce Sauvignon, Chardonnay, Shiraz and Cabernet Sauvignon. But the Pinot Meunier comes in what we call the Artisan series by Murdoch Hill, and that's about expressing unique sites within the Adelaide Hills. The Adelaide Hills are such a diverse region, so really trying to capture different vineyards around the Adelaide Hills, particularly in some of the higher parts for Pinot and Chardonnay. And then Pinot Meunier, as I said before. And then from my family's vineyard, been on the eastern part of the Adelaide Hills. It's a little bit drier, a little bit schistier, ironstone soil, so better suited to Syrah, so doing a single vineyard Syrah from our vineyard as well.
And one more question.
Yeah?
What's the best moment for you with winemaking? What do you like to do? I've been at this game quite young, and you only get one chance a year to make the wine. So vintage obviously is a very exciting time, but it's also very nice and rewarding to come up here to Hong Kong and go to a restaurant and see somebody drinking my wine, and I think that's really rewarding to hear people enjoying the wines that you've put your love and labour into. Well, I hope we see it in lots more Hong Kong tables. Great. Well, thank you so much, Michael.
My pleasure, Debra. Thank you.